Hey guys, so just real quick, the Kia Sportage. Okay, so like the last style, because they just came out with the new one like a year, like this year or last year. The style before that, that went from like 15 to 22 or something like that, or 15 to 21, whatever it is. Their four cylinders have issues with oil burning, just like the Equinox does. So if you have one, check your oil levels often. I'm not talking about the screen on the dash. I'm talking about underneath the hood. Check your dipstick, make sure it's full, and there's also a knock sensor recall. My friend's car was like barely running, and she took it in, and they thought that the engine was blown at first until they diagnosed it, and it was just a knock sensor. So that got fixed, but then her oil started getting burned. It's not leaking anywhere, but either way, so now she has to watch her oil, just like I'm warning you guys too. This is where the information is coming from, pretty much. But while her car was there getting the knock sensor fixed, the mechanic told her that if she needed a new engine, she'd have to be waiting all summer, this was back in like May, or early June. And he said that there was almost 30 Kia Sportages on their lot that were waiting on engines to be replaced. And Kia was sending like 2 a week. He was only putting in like 2 a week because Kia wasn't shipping them fast enough. So, and he was the only mechanic doing it. All the other mechanics that were there, they did other stuff. Like he was the one that did like the engine replacement stuff. So, yeah. But other than that, excuse me, the problem with them is that they most likely have the same type of problem as the Equinox, where they put weak piston rings in because they're trying to build them cheap. Kia and Hyundai, by the way, Hyundai owns Kia now. They are not a company. They're not companies that have a lot of money behind them. So, excuse me, they are building things cheaply, trying to make a profit. Whereas the other way around, like the big three, like Ford, Chrysler, and GM, they have money behind them, or they did. Now they have the bailout money that they're paying back, so they're making things cheaply now too. GM and Ford have picked the wrong things. GM has picked their engines, which is why the Equinox has the class action lawsuit, and now the trucks and SUVs, the 4.3 V6, the 4.8, 5.3, 6.0, and 6.2 V8s are all having oil consumption issues, just like the 2.4 did. And they have a class action lawsuit going now, and it spans like 10 years worth of vehicles. So they went cheap on their engines. Ford, the Maverick just came out, and it was having software and hardware issues, like computer software and computer hardware issues. So they went cheap on their electronics that are like computer stuff. Chrysler, which is now Stellantis, it's under Stellantis. It's still Chrysler, but it's under Stellantis, which was Fiat, and then they merged everything together and called it Stellantis. They went cheap on stuff like their electronics are cheap, like their alternator, which, yes, that was a recall in the early 2010s, like 2012 area, which is fixed now. But they went cheap on their interior panels and their electronics, like their radio and stuff like that. So their lamination comes off the radio, but it's something that's not going to leave you on the side of the road. Their engines haven't really changed in years. They're not really built that cheaply. Yes, they have issues, like the 5.7 Hemi has a problem with the camshaft and lifters going bad for the cylinder deactivation mode. If you don't run it the right way, it can, like if you let it idle a lot, oil doesn't get up there, and it basically has no lubrication, and it just tears itself up. So that's the problem with them. So if you don't idle a lot, that's why police cars were usually, if you buy an old police car, they had that problem. So anyway, but that's avoidable. If you don't idle that much, you can pretty much avoid it. But their engines, they didn't go cheap on the engines. They actually got better transmissions in them now, from 15 up on the V8s, and I think 13 up in the V6s. They all have better transmissions from a different company called ZF. They've bumped up their quality in their drivetrain components in the past 10 years, whereas all the other companies went lower. Like they went down a notch. So to me, I'm not sponsored by anybody, but I think at the moment Chrysler is okay, but like all what they're doing in this next refresh, they're getting rid of the Challenger and the Charger and stuff like that. Like I think the next wave of vehicles might not be that great, just my opinion. But the ones that they're getting rid of that have been tried and true are pretty good cars. So, but like I said, like Ford and GM, they kind of went down on quality and things they shouldn't have. and Kia and Hyundai. Sorry about the crows, by the way. They're around my house all the time, and I hate them. So Kia and Hyundai don't have a lot of money behind them, so they have to build stuff cheaply. And that's also the problem with Daewoo when that was around, which Daewoo got bought out by GM, and GM, the Chevy Aveo was a Daewoo, which is why they weren't that great. Sorry, I'm trying to move the camera a little bit away from the doorway so you don't hear the crows, because there's one like in this tree like 30 feet from me. So let me shut that door a little bit. Yeah, so if you have a Kia Sportage, look it up online, check out your oil levels, look at the reviews and stuff if you're looking for one. I personally would not buy one. I don't know if I said this or not, because I made a few videos, but my phone turned off from getting hot, because it's hot outside. So I don't know if I've said this or not, but I have never seen a Kia or Hyundai technician comment on anything that they would actually buy one. They actually all said that they would never buy one because of how many problems that they have. So keep that in mind if I have not said that already. By the way, I am not a mechanic. I am not an expert. I do know quite a bit about cars, and I'm just letting you guys know the experiences that my friend had when she took her car in and what they told her. And that is one dealership that is in a small, it's Erie, PA. It's a smaller city. So, but yeah, so if it's not that big of a city and they had 30 of them sitting on their lot waiting for engines, that's not good. So, so yeah, just if you have one, check it out. Check out your oil levels. Make sure you don't have that recall for the knock sensor and stuff like that. So I wish you good luck on your vehicles if you have them. And I sincerely, I mean, I know I got comments left and right saying that I'm talking trash and everything. I'm not. I'm really giving out the information that I have learned, and I am trying to warn people. Is all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to warn people and help people to not make bad decisions. I mean, buying a car, unless you buy it for $3 or $4 grand, it's a big choice. I mean, a lot of people spend 20, 30 grand on a car, and to have it go bad in 5 years is ridiculous. And that's the way that they're going. They want you to buy a car every 5 years now, so they're going to make their vehicles cheap. So because they want you to come back, they don't want to keep on fixing your car. They want you to buy another one and another one and another one. So Hyundai, the only reason Hyundai and Kia offer the 10-year warranty on them is because they're trying to get customers. They're trying to get sales to get the money behind them. And then what happens is when you have your issues, they're like, oh, they try to give you the runaround with stuff. Like a lot of companies do this anyway, but they try to give you the runaround with like, I know a lot of people that needed engines got denied. So they're just stuck with a car that has a bad engine. So, which GM did the same thing, but apparently Kia and Hyundai are doing it pretty badly with certain people. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you do your research, and if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. I will answer them as honestly as I can. I am not an expert on Kia or Hyundai. I will let you know. I don't follow them very much. I have never considered buying one. So the only thing I've really even looked at was the Kia Stinger, which is, I've never looked at it intensively. I've just looked at it for like, their 0 to 60 and quarter mile and stuff like that for, in case I run into one in the Challenger type of thing. So, other than that, I don't follow them, so I don't know much about them. So, but just passing on my experience. So any questions, comments, leave them down below. And I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Thanks.